So, what you're saying is that China's government has more control on its trade, while U.S. is only limited to what it exports and imports and tariffs.
Yeah, I said, but the U.S. politician has no other way, to maintain to solve the problem. And Trump use that way. It's also, very bold. You know, he if he cannot be successful, he will lose everything. His credibility, his, the most of economists predict the trade war cannot solve the problem in the U.S. economic situation. That means many economists predict it will make the U.S. economy worse than before. If it happened, Trump will finish.
So then, do you think that it would be better for Trump to pass the torch of this problem onto the next
No,
president?
actually,
just try and solve it?
from my view, I fight for democracy in China, and I really believe if the China had, maintain the human rights standard, and then the U.S. will have a fair competition trade term. For example, if the China treat their worker or their laborers very badly, they will have very little cost of the production, right?
Yeah.
Major production is the cost is capital and labor. But the China's labor, the Trump thinks the Chinese can win the trade, competition just because their government state gave them money to the company and they block the U.S. product into China. It's not the whole story. The complete story should include human rights, because in Chinese production they do not care about the human rights, so they have very,
Low standards.
low standard human rights, low labor cost. So it's the problem. So I think if American promote human rights in China, it can really help America maintain the fair trade term with China.
So then, how would you compare the current state of freedom here in the U.S. to China?
Oh, China is negative and the U.S. is positive. Maybe the U.S. is not as good as a European country. I feel the European country maintain the better human rights standard as the U.S. But compared to China, the China is negative, the U.S. is positive.
Yeah, but since U.S. has a more diverse population, there's
The human rights, from me, if you want to, to maintain the better, the human rights, democracy, and the democracy is very important. The rule of law also very important. But in China, nothing, neither human rights nor democracy exists in China. So it's why China is much worse than U.S.
So would you say that the past 50 years has China improved a little?
No,
Oh,
no. The economic being improve, but if you talk, for example, give you an example, your father familiar to the, in 20 or 30 years ago, there is a film called the 秋菊打官司. That is a countryside woman, a rural woman named 秋菊. She suffered from some, from their village head, and she went to the county is their county hall, and to raise the issue, and then the village head arrest, got punishment. But 20 years later, there is a Chinese guy, and then a word very famous in Chinese. I want 这个说法怎么翻译 ？I want a answer from government. Then government gave his fair answer. But 20 years later, a Chinese guy called Yang Jia, and he used knife to kill 6 policemen and hurt 5. And then his word, you didn't give me the answer, the right answer, I gave you answer, a bad answer. So that means that that's 20 years Chinese lost trust. I mean, lost their faith about the rule of law, about their judicial system. That means, maintain the human rights, fairness, democracy. We need a judicial system, a fair judicial system. But in China, it's worse and worse.